Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic, here with my dogs Lucy and Bert. Together, we're interviewing cool, creative women entrepreneurs in the pet industry. Do you dream of working alongside your dog? Then sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode to find the inspiration and resources that will help you grow your own dog-inspired business. On this episode, we're talking all about online marketing for your pet industry business. I've talked a lot about email lists on other episodes, but we're diving into it again since it's so important for your growth. We're also going to get into creating a positive mindset and how that can have an impact on your business. Community over competition, ladies. Let's dive in. Mikaela Samuels is the owner and founder of Pet Marketing Unleashed, a pet business marketing company serving petrepreneurs all over the world. Specializing in web design and content writing, Mikaela helps pet businesses with their social media, emails, blogs, and websites, while coaching even more business owners on how to unleash their pet biz profits through online marketing. She's also the host of the Facebook group Unleashed Petrepreneurs, an amazing online community filled with other pet industry professionals looking to upscale their marketing. In her free time, she enjoys snuggling with her terrier, Wilson, eating all the chips and salsa, and walking along the beach in sunny San Diego. Hey, Mikaela.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to learn about your business, and marketing and pets are like my two favorite things. So
exactly.
It's going to be a fun conversation.
Definitely.
How did you get started in what you're doing now? How did you decide to start Pet Marketing Unleashed?
Well, obviously, I always loved animals. all of us in the pet space, we are here because we love animals. And I knew that I wanted to work in some sort of animal-related capacity. And so, your first thought is always vet. But I was never very good at science, and I didn't really want to take that route. So, of course, as a result, I got my degree in marketing, which is completely unrelated. And I was actually working part-time as a marketer for a pet resort, and I really did love it. But really what inspired the creation of Pet Marketing Unleashed was actually when I was diagnosed with bilateral hip dysplasia, which is funny because we know of that happening
in dogs,
but not necessarily in humans. So, but to be honest, and this isn't something that I normally really talk about too much, is that there was a part of me that was almost relieved when I was going to have to require these surgeries, because I felt like I had an out. I was working at a data job. I didn't really feel like I had this sense of purpose. I didn't love what I did. And so I kind of was relieved to kind of just, okay, I can take this time and just be on my couch and watch TV. And it was kind of awful, something to admit, but at the same time, it was something that ended up being such a blessing because being handicapped and learning how to walk again and all that kind of stuff, I realized, okay, I need to do something that I actually, have a belief in and that I love. So I started browsing the internet and figuring out, okay, what do I do? I love animals, but I don't know. So I actually ended up finding a business coach, and she just absolutely changed my life. And from there, it was so obvious, okay, let's combine my marketing experience and my skills from that and combine it with my love for animals. And so it kind of was just like this quick thing, as I was recovering from these surgeries, like, all right, Pet Marketing Unleashed, it's there. So
I love it. Do you mind talking a little bit about what a business coach does? I think that that's a term that we hear more, and especially as entrepreneurs, you think, I'm struggling to grow my business. Like, what should I invest in? And a business coach, I always hear from people that it's such a great investment if you hire the right person. So what do they do? Like, did you guys just brainstorm stuff, or how does it work?
Yeah. And every single coach is a little bit different in terms of what they focus on. And it was kind of nice because the one that I had actually used to have a background in more of the content marketing space. So it's kind of nice because that's what I wanted to get into. But for me, it was more so like, how do you start a business? Like, what does that even mean? Can I even start a business? And I think, what her argument was that, anyone can go about doing it, but what a business coach can help you with is doing it faster and more efficiently. So, I could potentially do this all by myself, but having that extra guidance to get me there faster and more efficiently kind of made all the difference. And then there's also the added component of mindset. yes, I can do this. She did it. She's younger than me, and we just, so from there, that was kind of something that even helped me get into actually coaching other entrepreneurs or petpreneurs.
Right. Yeah. I was just going to ask you about that, because I think like one of the amazing things for me when I have like a coaching relationship or like a mastermind group that I'm in or something is just like someone else to bounce ideas off of. So I guess now you offer coaching, marketing coaching to other pet businesses. So you can kind of be like a sounding board and help them work through things and just get things done faster, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the more clients that I end up working with, it's kind of nice to know, I do focus more on the marketing component when it comes to coaching. It's not more just solely like business coaching. I do focus on the marketing side of things, but it is really nice because I think there's so much overwhelm in the space. Like, okay, what do I focus on? How do I get started? What systems do I need in place? And a lot of times they end up doing more work than they necessarily need to. So it's kind of finding how can they streamline and get things automated to where they don't have to be working nonstop. So that's kind of my big focus. Isn't just marketing, but it's also how can you save time and actually get back to your life and enjoy the business that you own.
Yeah, because we're all in the pet industry because we want to do something we love. So don't turn it into something that you dread.
Exactly. That happens so much because it's so competitive and overwhelming and all of that. So that's kind of my focus in terms of marketing is actually how can I save you time in your, in your personal life too.
Right. So that you can actually go walk your dog, which is what I would rather do all the time.
Exactly. Like when I first started too, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't even really walked my dog. Like what, and so it really became a priority for me to, how can I schedule these things ahead of time? How can I get, generate leads and get the contracts, all that kind of stuff automated so that I can have more time walking my dog and actually spending time with my dog. Cause that's, that's why you start a business is
right.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
the whole point.
Exactly.
I love it. So if someone is just starting out, maybe they just started a pet business or maybe they dream of doing that, do you have any advice for someone like that, like marketing advice that they really should implement from the get-go?
Yeah, I think, and I kind of have two things I guess I could say here. I think one of, and this is more general, I would say, because, specific marketing advice would be very specific to each business and different types and all of that. But a kind of simple answer that I like to say is, and this kind of goes with the overwhelm that we were talking about, is that as entrepreneurs, we think we need to be everywhere. We need to be posting constantly. We need to be on every single platform and we need to be 100% perfect. But I think the big thing here is to kind of take a step back, pick 1 to 2 things that you can really focus on in the beginning at least, and kind of go from there. So maybe start out by figuring out where will your, ideal customers be. Will it be, if it's pet service industry, maybe it's blogging and Facebook, or for e-commerce, maybe it's Pinterest and Instagram. So kind of, focusing on 1 to 2 platforms at a time and kind of build from there, but don't, I think a lot of times that overwhelm comes from like, I need to post on everything all the time. So kind of taking a step back and realizing, your ability and your time constraints and all of that.
Right.
Yeah,
that's great advice.
Yeah. And I think my second piece, which I know I'm here to talk mainly about marketing, but I think the biggest thing ever for any entrepreneur is more working on personal development. And this is something I've recently got into a little bit more. But I think especially as women, most of us are struggling with, self-confidence issues or comparativitis, or whatever it is. And so what I've learned through my process of improving myself is that if my mindset is in the right place, then that's when all the success happens. That's when opportunities present itself to you. So I think kind of, especially in the entrepreneur space, to adding more and all of that kind of stuff. And that's something that I want to add more of in my coaching program, because without that mindset, I don't think you can really have as successful a business as you want, because it's all about what you put out there for yourself.
Yeah, totally. So you think this was like a little off topic, but this is like hits so perfectly with what I do, because I have been implementing a lot of that like mindset stuff and working from high vibration environment, which is basically like making how I view it, I think it can be a lot of things, but what I do is I try to make my workspace just as lovely and wonderful as possible. So, I burn my Wear Wag Repeat candles that are really nice and all natural. And I actually have like little twinkle lights behind my desk. And, I try to play music that I enjoy so that I'm actually happy while I'm working. So it's, an enjoyable thing. And I think that comes across in everything that I write and in my marketing. And people, I feel like, want to come to your website if they sense, they get there and they instantly just feel joyful and feel those dog vibes. So if you can,
it's so
that
true.
while you're creating your stuff, people are going to pick up on that. So I'm totally with you. I hope that whoever's listening, that this makes sense. Sometimes
exactly.
I'm rambling like a crazy person.
Well, it's funny because it's something that I remember, maybe two plus years ago, that it was something I would always think is silly, or it was something that, my boyfriend would listen to podcasts and read these books. And I'm like, I just like mystery novels and listening to my music. Like, I never really realized how amazing, what possibilities could be opened up through self-development and reading these books where you can learn more about mindset and affirmations and visualization and all of that kind of stuff. And it's opened up so much for me. So
yeah, I love it. Sometimes it creates problems for me because I like to listen to podcasts when I walk my dogs. Maybe if you're listening to this right now, you're walking your dog. But I listen to all these business shows, and then I get all these ideas, and I come home from my walk and I'm like, oh my God, I need to get this. I need to do that. And it's a little bit of shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
But it's good. It's all very motivational. So, it could be worse.
Yeah. And I mean, it could also be, kind of taking the not necessarily opposite perspective, but kind of actually just taking a step back and meditating. And it's something that for me, I'm not, necessarily like super into meditation or anything like that. But I just read Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And that was all about kind of doing these 5-minute things for yourself in the morning. And so I'm very bad at meditating by myself. So I actually will put on YouTube videos, like 5-minute morning meditation and just having that time to not think or let someone else think for you through YouTube. It's so nice. And it makes me way more productive throughout my day.
I agree. I have, I've read that book, and then I also have the Headspace app, which has been really great. And I know that they have some recordings, I guess you could call them meditations, but for walking, they're designed for commuters.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't listened to one yet. They came out a while ago, but I've been meaning to listen to that on a dog walk and kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, I didn't know they had that.
My own personal time.
Yeah, exactly. That's nice. I didn't know they had that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So back to marketing, because we could just go way off on a tangent. Okay. All right. So what I think is so awesome about your business is that you specialize in pet industry businesses. So is there any kind of marketing things that pet businesses should do that other industries don't really focus on?
Well, I think kind of what the pet industry space has probably more than others is a unique opportunity for partnerships. And this can be kind of in different spectrums. So, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but partnering up with rescues and shelters and using that for your business, not only as a way to kind of, mesh with your community and that sort of thing, getting your name out there, but also it's kind of like you're helping each other. And, obviously in the pet space, we would love to see more animals get adopted. So that sort of thing can, expand your reach exponentially and help you in that sense. But even something that a lot of people don't think about is partnering with your competitors. So for example, if you are a dog walker, partnering with another dog walker or pet sitter, just because if you're sick, you have someone to kind of, help you out in that sense. So there's that, but it's also a sense of, every single doggy daycare, dog walker, they're all different. So if you, do high energy pack walks and then, someone else kind of focuses more on older animals, I mean, that's how, a referral system can come into place. So I think for, really those sort of partnerships are even more powerful, being able to refer to your competitor is something that's a lot of people respect and vice versa. So it works out really well.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think so many people are intimidated, or they think that, again, going back to our mindset stuff, but that scarcity mindset of there's not enough to go around. But I think the dog business, I don't know, I keep seeing different numbers, but $70 billion a year.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to go around. So, I think it's the right thing to do for especially dog mompreneurs to sort of support each other because we're in it together.
Exactly. And we all have, the clients or the products that fit certain people better than others. So being able to kind of realize that. And, if we are talking about mindset, if you are typically used to walking older dogs, and then you get a super high energy, group of dogs, that doesn't necessarily flow with what your business is. So I think it's nice to have that outside resource to be able to refer to others.
Right. It's more like complementary than competitor.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Sorry to interrupt the interview, but I would love to see what you're doing while you catch up with the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. Take a screenshot of this episode in your podcast player or snap a selfie with your earbuds in. Bonus points if it's on a dog walk, and share it to your Instagram stories, tagging me at @TMystic. I'll keep an eye out for mentions, and I would love to give you a shout out from my own account. Okay, now back to the episode. Okay, so before we started recording, we were just kind of chit-chatting a little bit, and we talked about email lists. Now, I'm someone who is obsessed with email lists, and there's different episodes. I'll link up in the show notes if you want to hear more about email lists, because I'm very into them. And I ask everyone. But you really specialize in email lists, and you have a passion for email. So tell us a little bit about that, because not everyone thinks that they need an email list, and they're so focused on getting more followers on Instagram or whatever. Why should they have an email list?
Yeah, and that's such a good question. It's something that I'm definitely going to be pushing more this year. And I actually, at the end, before I answer your question, at the end of 2018, I actually sent out a feedback survey to my audience. And one of the questions I asked was if they had an email list or if they wanted one. And it was funny. I can't remember the exact percentage right now, but it was upwards of like 60 or 70% said they did not have an email list, but they wanted one. And so there's kind of this gap between like, okay, maybe people are starting to realize that, yeah, you should do email marketing, but they're still not doing it. So that's just kind of something that I wanted to get into more this year, because I think it's so powerful. And as you said, yeah, everyone's kind of just like, okay, I'll post on Facebook and, that's good enough. But at the same time, I mean, the email lists are something that you own your list. So being able to actually directly reach them in their inbox is very powerful. And then the power that comes from, one of those email service providers, I use ConvertKit. There's plenty of them out there, but being able to segment your list so that you're actually giving them, the information that they want to learn about, or they want, if you're a doggy daycare and pet resort, if you're focused on, overnight stays versus the daycare clients and that sort of thing, you can segment so much and tag people based on purchases, and to be able to segment it that perfectly is very powerful, and it's pretty amazing. And the statistics speak for themselves. I don't have the exact statistics with me right now, but it's people are more likely to spend and convert purchase wise on email marketing versus social media, and it's pretty insane if you do a little bit of research. And I think I actually have a couple blog posts in the work right now about email marketing and the power of it, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was like, I was a skeptic, I have to say. Like, I've been trying to grow my list for the past couple of years, because I didn't start it right when I started my business. I wish I had started an email list the minute I published my first blog post, but I didn't. I've been working on growing my list, but I heard someone say that your online sales are directly related to the size of your list. And she could even pinpoint it down to like a percentage, a conversion rate of how many sales you would make based off how many people were on your email list. And I was so skeptical about it. But then, sure enough, I did a couple of launches of my Instagram online course that I have, and her numbers were almost exactly correct. I felt like exactly, I forget what it was, but it was like 1% or something like that will actually buy whatever it is that you're promoting through your email list. So it's really interesting. And I think once you start doing it and diving in, you can see all these like facts and figures people throw out are actually real.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, to be able to personalize it and customize it to like their needs, or even being able to, add their name in there, it makes it so personal, makes it real that, if you're posting on Instagram and you're basically putting information out there to the masses and trying to grow your following, no matter if they're a potential customer or not. I mean, email is so targeted. It's amazing. So yeah, that's definitely something that I'm going to be working on more in this coming year through, e-courses or coaching or whatever it is, because it's so powerful.
Right. Well, so speaking of this year, we're just still in January 2019, so we've got about 11 months left to go. Do you have any predictions in terms of marketing for pet businesses this year? What should people focus on?
Yeah, actually through, my own research and just actually even through my own experiences and experiences of my clients, I think there's going to be definitely a lot of changes this year. In terms of by platform, I would actually say Facebook is becoming less popular. And that's in terms of, general Facebook posting. I'm not talking about Facebook groups or Facebook advertising because that works really well. And this obviously does not mean don't leave Facebook. This, it's still definitely a very valuable platform, but through my research, there's definitely going to be like a slight decline in terms of growth. And,
so maybe just like shift your energy towards another platform.
Exactly. Don't ignore it. It's not something that's necessarily going away, but in terms of growth, I think there's definitely other platforms that are growing way more significantly. And one of those I think still going on is Instagram. And through my research on that, I've noticed definitely there's going to be more focus on micro influencers. So influencers with smaller accounts and just kind of more authentic accounts. So I think, definitely 2018, there's that, big, everyone's feed has to look very, perfect and cohesive and staged. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. But I feel like now everyone's just kind of like, no, we want real. So I think kind of those smaller accounts are going to be more powerful as well as those more, real authentic accounts. And that's something that I'm definitely, I definitely have to work on as well, because I was kind of focused on, I really like how, all my posts have blue and it's, and it's all cohesive and, but that's too much energy to focus on that. I'd rather be more real and more focused on just kind of being myself and what my business has to offer and all of that.
Yeah. So like if a brand is looking to work with influencers, quote unquote, on Instagram, if it's like a pet brand, and you're just starting out, maybe you feel like you can't really approach someone who has 100,000 followers, or maybe they charge too much and you can't really afford to do influencer marketing with someone that's that big. I mean, there's even dogs with like millions of followers.
Yeah.
So approaching someone with like 5,000 followers or something like that, that would be like a micro influencer, and that would kind of be like the new way of doing things.
Exactly. And I mean, it's kind of something that everyone focuses on, that, that follower number, but also, I mean, engagement is so powerful. So those accounts that, they might not have as many followers, but there's so much engagements and so much comments and all that kind of stuff. It's so much more powerful and more realistic. And I feel like, especially, in terms of looking back on 2018, a lot of those large accounts are promoting something in pretty much all of their posts. So it becomes, it becomes less meaningful in that sense. So I think, definitely micro influencers will be really big, especially on Instagram.
Yeah, that's a very fun prediction.
Yeah. And then as far as prediction goes, back to email marketing, I think that's something that to definitely look out for. And that's something that I'm going to try and focus on as far as the pet industry space is, there's so many areas of the pet industry that are a little bit behind the times in terms of marketing and that sort of thing. So kind of getting them ahead of the game in email marketing is my big focus, because there's so much room for, there's so much potential in that. So that's something that, I definitely think will be a big focus.
Well, and something that I noticed on your website, just to like be promotional for you for a second, is that you have this awesome planner on your website, the Pet Biz Planner, and it looks like really awesome. It said it's 130 pages and it's PDF. It has all these like calendars and dates and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about that and how people can get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can just get it on my website at petmarketingunleashed.com. But yeah, so the planner was kind of, everyone always used to call me the organization queen. So I love planners and, being able to write in everything and that sort of thing. So I wanted a way where we could, go outside just having that standard calendar, but how can we break everything out by platform, and kind of working that way. And I kind of help follow the flow of, okay, what are my goals for 2019? How can we break those down into monthly goals and then weekly goals? And then use that with, holidays and that sort of thing to kind of create your flow based on platforms. So that's kind of where that comes from in terms of the content planner. And I also have, there's also ways to kind of track your growth and that sort of thing. So you can look back at, I really had a lot of growth in February, and then kind of go back and through and see, what kind of posts had most engagement, that sort of thing. Yeah. So that's all about the content planner.
Yeah, that looks very cool. And it's a lot less intimidating to like plan out your entire year when you can break it down into like months or weeks too.
Exactly. And that's kind of something too that especially with working with coaching clients, that's something that's a really big deal. Like, well, I don't have, 20 hours a week to dedicate to all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, how do you take, instead of, you're going to blog once a week, right? For, 52 weeks. So how can we, what kind of blog post do you want to write, and breaking it up that way? So for example, if you wanted to do interviews for your blog post, you really, if you do one a month, you just need 12 interviews. You could probably send out an email to, 12 people in January, and you essentially have all of the blog posts right there, and that's one a month for 12 months. So how can you break it down like that and make it more simple? I think definitely makes it a lot easier instead of just looking at a whole year of, oh my gosh, I have so much content to fill.
Very smart. I like it. So everybody go do that.
Right.
Before we have to go, tell us about your dog, Wilson, because we all want to know what he's like.
Oh my gosh, he is so wild. I actually have one of my Instagram highlights is all about him, and it's so funny. My boyfriend was just saying he went back to go look at, from the beginning, and it's just, he is so wild. He has so much energy.
How old is he?
He just turned 1.
Oh my gosh, so he's just a pup.
Yeah, so and it was funny. We actually adopted him, I think it was 2 weeks before my second hip surgery. And my boyfriend had just started a new job. He had to take care of me. And then we got this, I think we got him when he was 4 months. So it was just it was a lot. So, but he is just so wild, but he's so fun. He's amazing. He's a sweet soul, but he is just so wild. We call him our little monster.
Oh,
so, but
does he hang out with you while you're working all day?
Yeah. Well, so working from home also has its negatives because he actually does have separation anxiety. So that's been something that we've been trying to work on a lot. Because before, I didn't really think about it too much, but he would just lay in my lap because I'm like, oh, this is awesome. He can, lay in my lap all day. But then when I would leave, it was not good. Let's just say that. So we've been working with a trainer a lot, and he's gotten a lot better. So I have a big focus in making sure that I'm leaving the house consistently and that sort of thing.
So that's kind of what the trainer says, is just leave for short periods more often.
Well, it's funny because we actually, when we first started training, we had his little mat, and it was a matter of taking one step away from the mat and then coming back and then treating him for staying. So we actually started there. Yeah. And then kind of, went from there. So we've gotten to the point where I can actually walk outside my house and close our gate and then walk back inside, and he's still okay.
Oh, wow.
So our trainer in the beginning, actually, more of the thing was, to not let him go over threshold. So actually don't leave him. And then just do these very, very slow increments. But we've kind of also gotten to the point where okay, I haven't left my house in a year, that sort of thing. And, we've been trying CBD oil, and we've been doing very intensive training with him and that sort of thing. And the good thing is he's dog friendly. So we can take him places and that sort of thing. But it's been a very slow process, but that's kind of what you have to do with separation anxiety, unfortunately, is
any kind of dog
complex issue. And I actually
takes a lot longer than you ever would think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a behavioral issue that it's really hard to work on. And actually I do have a blog post up on my website, kind of more about separation anxiety, but from the owner perspective, because it's hard. It's hard to deal with the separation anxiety because I couldn't leave and I couldn't, and how do I fix him? And it's hard not to be frustrated, but you have to realize, he's not having that accident because he's mad at me. He's having an accident because he's so stressed. He can't help it. So it's kind of
a panic attack.
Yeah. And so it was something that I never really saw through my research on separation anxiety, was kind of how do you deal with this as an owner?
Yeah, that's so interesting, because someone just messaged me that her dog, I think from what I understand, was having some sort of a mass tested to see if it was cancerous, and it takes 2 weeks to get the results back. And she was like, do you have any advice on how to deal with my emotions for the next 2 weeks? And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't really know what to tell you, but just keep an eye on your dog and make sure your dog's okay, and eating and drinking normal and that kind of stuff. I only really know the dog side of things. So I think that would be an interesting series of blog posts for someone to do. It's about the person side of things.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's hard. They can't tell us what they're thinking. We can't just explain it to them, but it's still a complex, cognitive behavioral issue that,
right.
they're struggling with. So it's hard to deal with from an owner's perspective. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I hate to end this conversation, but we must. So tell everyone where they can find you online.
Yes. So my Facebook page, I don't really do since we're talking about Facebook, I don't really focus too much on my page, but my group, you can search, it's Unleashed Petpreneurs. It's amazing. It's a very supportive group of other pet industry entrepreneurs, or even, managers, employees, all of that. And I absolutely love that group. So feel free to join that. And then my website is petmarketingunleashed.com. And on there is my blog and all of the resources to the planner and other social media and all that. And you can also join my email list because email marketing is amazing. So,
well, thank you so much, Mikaela. It was so awesome talking to you.
You too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. You can fetch show notes at wearwagrepeat.com. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And until next time, we'll see you around the dog park.